and we're going to get started. So this is Holly Hall. As many of you know, you're my clients, and nice to see you on all of you on video or on microphone. Got most of you muted right now, but we're going to get started with the readings very soon. Right now, I want to focus on every time I do this. I'm hoping to do it once or twice a week. I'm going to focus on a topic, and the topic is sent to me from the universal mind. Usually, I dream about them. I had a very, very profound night of dreams that told me that this was something that I had to talk about. And the topic is of expansion. Many of you may not know that I am pretty addicted, not just to astrology, but also physics. I have a very scientific mind, which is one of the reasons why I questioned astrology when I was in my early 20s. I really didn't think something like that could be true. But when I started to practice it, lo and behold, magically, it works. It works immensely. And many of you know from having readings with me that is very profound and sometimes unbelievable, even to myself. So what I want to do is share with you one of the scientists, Nissam Humain, who is, he's hard to pronounce. He's actually from Switzerland, born there, raised mostly in the eastern part of Canada, but I think he lives in California somewhere, and he's a physicist, but he's an out-of-the-box physicist. So what I'm going to do now is try to figure out how I can share my screen. Start to share. Yeah. Hi, Georgia. And is that my video? Bear with me. I'm not sure if that's the movie, because I purchased the movie. Now, if one of you can put in the chat room and tell me if you can see this. I believe you can, yeah.
What really keeps me going, this transformation I can see when a person realizes that they're connected to everything and that they matter in the universe. We experience this life, and most people don't ask, like, how did I get here? What is this life? How am I moving trillions of atoms around? We often hear the concept, everything is connected, it's all one. For many people, it resonates as something true. But how is that true? some of the work I've been doing starts to open the door to understanding how everything is connected.
Here we go.
Everything
So now I have to turn
we
it off on my
experience
end.
as reality is actually made up of 99.999.
Okay. So that's one of the gentlemen that's in research. He's about 57 years old now, and he's a physicist, and he's out of the box. And the reason I'm showing this to you guys before we start doing some readings is because that is what astrology is to me. And the more that I learn about physics, and more that I learn about the connection, the more that I learn about how we are the same atoms and the same composition up to 97% as stars are, it makes sense to me that the ancients, up until, and it was very mainstream up until this 1800s, had discovered a formula that would help us to understand our connection and why we are here, and to be able to read that individually, not as a core group and not as a collective, but individually, me, myself. And that's astrology. That's what astrology does. Unfortunately, in this day and age, because in the mid-1900s, it came back into the mainstream, but it came back as hocus pocus. It came back as newspaper articles and horoscopes and charlatans. And unfortunately, just like many psychics out there, and many professionals in general, there are charlatans out there. There are ones that really don't know how to do it. They're not good at it, or they pretend that they are, and they tap into your emotions, your emotional sphere, and they can capture people. They can hypnotize people and make them believe that they're all-knowing. So that makes people like us very hard to become mainstream so that people can understand it. I do firmly believe, and I have been told, that in the next 5 years, it will become astrology. If you don't have an astrologer, it's like you don't have a doctor. It's going to become like something that you need to have. And that's why it was very reverend in the universities at one time. If you wanted to be in a medical, you want to be a politician, you want to be a doctor, you had to take astrology. So I'm going to start by what he talks about is expansion. And the more that we look at something, the more that we try to understand ourselves, we can expand ourselves to the point where it becomes painful. And you just imagine like a dike or a dam. If the water builds up too fast, it will break the dam. It will create cracks in the dam. It will put too much pressure on it, and the water will leak out. Okay? If we blow up a balloon too quickly, too fast with a machine, it will burst. It's too quick, too fast. But if we do it slowly, we could probably get it to a certain expansion, even larger than when it burst, because we made it move too fast. And that's the same thing with ourselves. If we try to grow too fast, we try too hard, and we don't understand what our weaknesses and our strengths are, we can create depression, anxiety, panic attacks, excess worry, overthinking. And the more that you understand yourself, the more that you will understand that you don't have to create pure perfectionist or happiness to what the gurus say that we have to. Happiness is imperfection, understanding imperfection. And so I'm going to start off now by taking a look at, and this is, a lot of you have had readings with me, so you do understand that my first 10 minutes, I'm not going to do it this time because we're just doing a Q&A, but you do understand that the first 15 minutes of my reading with me is I talk only about you, because this birth chart, and there's over 600 billion combinations of birth charts. And even if you're not even that many people on the planet, and if you are an identical twin and you were born only minutes apart, there is still a difference. There's still nature versus nurture. And how do you feed into that birth chart according to your environment? And that's a whole nother story. We can talk about that another time. So we're going to take a look at Evren. I think that's what you are right now. And Evren, I'm going to unmute you and see if that works. Are you there? Can you hear me? You said your microphone may not work. That's fine. So she said that, or he said that, feeling a bit stagnation in my life in certain topics. How do I get over it? Mostly my career. Now, this is perfect, because there's two important things that's happening that I see in the universe right now that's connecting to you directly. And we all have direct contact with the universe. You can't not have a connection with the universe. You wouldn't exist. And so starting in June, you've all of a sudden got this radical different way of thinking. And you're going to feel like your mind is expansive and explosive and it's going a mile a minute. But what's happening is that you've been thinking too big. You go from one extreme to the other, where you're either thinking very small, which means you're shy, you're conservative, you're not confident with yourself, or you're thinking too big. I've got to be the next Oprah. I've got to be the next famous person. I've got to do it big, or don't do anything at all. And so what the universe is doing for you right now, it's asking you since June to, it's giving you some sudden changes in your career that's asking you to make more changes so that you have freedom of expression on what you want to do in your career. So just starting mid-June, and we're talking right now, you just had this opportunity, or you will have this opportunity now. Now, part of that might be that you're extremely confused. And all of the new information that's coming to your career being too quick, too fast. And this is coming from a superior, someone that is higher up than you, and someone that's really discouraging you. And it's a discouraging time for you. So you're creating boundaries. And this is a lesson that the first lesson will end in October of 2019. And you'll get an opportunity in September of 2019. But the whole radical change for you to create some freedom so that you can be a leader, okay? So you're not shy, that you will lead with conviction, and you know what you're talking about, and you don't have to be a perfectionist to do that. That's a lesson that you're going through that's starting in June and it's ending in February 2021. So you got a year and a half of this. So there's going to be about 3 to 4 significant changes in your life that you will feel are disruptive. And that is because you've got a grand scope, an idea of where you want to be, and you've got a plan. And it's telling you to think outside the box. Don't go with the plan. Okay? Don't go with perfection. Don't wait till you're perfect enough before you stand in front of that audience. Entertain them and lead them with the ideas that you have. And your gift and your talent is to nurture the emotions of other people, mothers and their children, small animals, and especially around making sure that children are nurtured. And you're a leader in that. And it's asking you now, the universe is saying, you're educated, you've got experience, you've got the compassion. You don't have to teach yourself any more compassion. You're naturally born that way. You were like a nurse or caregiver in a past life. So you did this with your mother, you did this with your sisters or your siblings, you do this with your own children, and now you're doing this with other people. Great in a consulting situation as well. You're a problem solver, but you want to do something different, something outside of the box, not anything that's the norm right now, something inventive. And you're going to do this in a teaching way and in a writing way. Okay, so start working on that now. And that, then you won't be stuck. You're stuck in the old paradigm. You're reinventing yourself. Let that unfold. Okay, let that happen for you. Now we're going to go to Grace, I believe, was the next one. And Grace asked me, what did you ask me, Grace? Okay, you feel at times that you slow yourself down too much in thoughts regarding your reluctance to take a big step. So let's take a look at what's going on there. Okay, you're going through a couple of majority of changes, and this is around boundaries, and you are supposed to slow yourself down right now, okay? You are supposed to, and that's slowing down, and you're going through a soul rebirth. That slowing down started in February 2019, so you won't be slowed down anymore as of November or more into December of 2019, okay? After that, things are going to speed back up again. And the reason is you're not just slowing yourself down. Circumstances are slowing you down. They're thwarting you by circumstances, by other people, associations with other people that are your bosses, that are your fathers or your authority figures, or even a husband. Okay. And excuse me, I have a cold. And so yours isn't to think outside of the box. You're very highly educated. You don't need to educate yourself anymore. You're extremely compassionate. You got a lot of Cancer in your chart. Okay, but what it's asking you to do is to put yourself out there and to start teaching. You're a teacher. To start teaching other people about compassion, about teaching other people about self-nurturing and self-love, and writing that book that you've been wanting to write. Write that curriculum that you've been wanting to write. Connect with groups of mothers and nurturers and caregivers, not just mothers, but caregivers, which means teachers as well, because teachers are paramount caregivers right now. And this is a rebirth that you're going through, and you've had this gift in a past life, and they're asking you to reevaluate that gift that you've had. So it feels like a struggle. Since February 2018, you don't love what you're doing anymore. You don't love what you've been doing anymore. You don't love the people you're hanging out with. You may not love yourself. You don't love the career that you had decided to take on, or the path that you decided to take on. And that's because that cycle ended in February 2018. That's a cycle that started in your past life. All right. And this is finally done in the end of this year. So you're at the finish line. You've got 6 months to fall back in love with something, someone, who you are. All right. Your central nervous system is greatly affected. So vitamin Bs, 5-HTP, SAMe can help, because your mind goes a million miles a minute. And what it's asking you to do is to slow down, but create that plan, create that curriculum, write that book. What do you want to teach? What can you teach? How can you teach people self-nurturing? And it started with you. It started with your childhood, the difficulties that you had in your childhood where you weren't heard. And that's why it's difficult for you to share your knowledge, because you feel like it's not going to be well received. Okay. So I'm going to see if there's any response. That's mine, Holly. Yep. Okay. So hopefully that resonated with you, Georgia. And thank you, Everin. You said, this is unbelievable to me. Thank you. You spoke to my heart, and I spoke to your soul. I will tell you that I've got clients, and Georgia, I'm going to get you to respond as well, too. We're going to have an interaction here. When you get tears in your eyes or you get chills down your spine, that means that my soul recognizes your soul. Some people call that namaste, although that word is actually not translatable. But that's probably the closest that I think is my soul sees your soul. So, Georgia, did that resonate with you?
Yeah, I don't know. Do you have me on speaker?
I have you on speaker and on video. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, incredible. Yeah, I just typed in incredible. Yes, when you first started speaking, you said this is for Grace. So I wasn't really sure. But then when you started speaking, I thought, oh, yeah, this is definitely for me. And
yeah, Georgia, sorry, I missed.
Oh, yeah, no worries. I just wanted to make
Georgia.
sure. Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, this is resonating incredibly with where I am right now, and the idea about teaching and nurturing. And I have big thoughts, and I just have not taken the steps to do those. So, yeah, this is exactly, universally designed for me. Yeah, right now.
So
yeah.
what are your next steps going to be now that you've been told by a complete stranger that you need to do this?
Yes, I have 3 business cards on the table for 3 different organizations who I wanted to make contact with and figure out how I can present to the people in their organizations. So I'm going to write 3 emails this afternoon and follow it up with 3 phone calls tomorrow.
Good for you. I just want to take a look at one more thing for you. And did you go into teaching for your career?
Yes.
Okay, good. And perfect, because that's exactly, you were a teacher in a past life. But what happened is that you ended up teaching for people that had some mental health or learning disabilities, such as ADD, ADHD. Those types of people tended to gravitate towards you. And you found in your generation that there wasn't enough help there. So you kind of stood alone in helping some of these people. And you had to design your own way of having to deal with some of these children. Does that make sense to you?
It does. I feel like I'm on the fringes of that. I'm actually a preschool teacher, but there are many kids who come into my life who show up that way.
Right. So
Yeah.
they've got, and you're extremely sensitive. You take on a lot of the emotions, the feelings, the fears, the anxiety of other children, even preschool, which is a perfect stage to help them, because we're sponges. We're basically being hypnotized to the age of 6 or 7. So you're being introduced to them at such a young age. And if you can recognize that some of them are healers, some of them are are leaders, and they don't fit into the paradigm of the school system. And if you can help the parents understand that, and so that they're not afraid of the system, telling them that their child is, on the spectrum, or their child is ADD, or their child is, their mind wanders and they can't focus, probably because they're an artist and they're creative and they're sensitive, right? Is that what you're looking at doing?
Well, I'm a parent coach, and I do presentations on conscious parenting. So I want to be accessible and available to parents to help them heal themselves so they can be, most available and connected with their children. But the leaders that you said and the healers, I can think of several children who I had this past school year who absolutely will not fit in. They're not the square peg in the they are the square peg and they're not going to fit into the round hole. So I have been working. Yeah. Wow. That's really interesting.
Good for you. Well, I would love it if you kept me up to date, send out those emails and let me know what the results are.
Okay. Thank you so much, Holly. I really appreciate this. And I hope you feel better.
Thank you, Georgia. Mm-hmm. Bye-bye. Okay, Grace, I've got your chart up now. And I just want you to tell me, if you can speak, what your question is.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, Holly.
Hi, Grace.
I'm wondering about the death of a parent, whether you can see that, and whether you would mention that in a reading or not.
If I can mention the death of a parent in a reading, I can
yeah,
look up the parent.
Pardon?
I can look up the parent, and I can talk to the living person about their parent. And sometimes while I'm doing that, messages come through.
Okay, but if we didn't know that a parent was going to pass, would that show up in our charts?
No. And ethically, I'm not allowed to even look for it.
Okay, but then wouldn't that affect our lives, especially in the coming year or two?
Right. So what I would see is some challenges and difficulties. If I know the time of your birth, I could see that if it's with a parent, or if it's within the family paradigm, or if it's within the domestic home. And then that person would observe it as, yes, my parent just passed away and I'm now the one who has to take over all of the estate or deal with my siblings. And then we would take, and then if they had some stumbling blocks with their parent, there was some healing that still needed to be done, then I could look at the parent. But if you were to say to me, I have an ailing parent, are they going to pass away? What is the date that they're going to pass away? I can tell you when you're going to have some difficulties in the near future, but I can't tell you if that's related to them passing away, again, because it's ethically, I'm not allowed to talk about that.
Okay. And so if it's not expected, right. if it's a death that was not expected, are you saying that you wouldn't necessarily see that, but you would see that during that period we would go through difficulty?
That's challenging, that's coming your way at a certain time frame. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. I understand. Okay. Thank you, Holly.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks. That was a great question. I've had a lot of people talk to me and ask me about death, and if I can see when they're going to die. And it is one of the oaths that we take right away. And that is that we're not allowed to predict death. I will tell you that when my cousin had a brain tumor at the age of 28, nobody told her that she had that. It was obvious that she had cancer, but they didn't tell her that it was inoperable. And she started losing her short-term memory. And I took her out to one of her favorite restaurants, and she asked me, I know that everybody knows that I'm dying, and I know that nobody's going to tell me, but I know that you may know when I'm going to die. Can you tell me? And I said, I don't see when you're going to die. Now, of course, I went home and I looked it up, and I was pretty darn close. But I would never have told her that. And that is because we do have the willpower. We do have the power to change things. Even though the astrology says, hey, this is happening, a difficult challenge is happening. And what I say to people is like, I'm handing you 5 cards. We're going to play poker. And with those 5 cards at a given period of time, whether it's a 10-minute game or an hour game, and in the cards of life, it could be a 10-week, it could be a 2-year cycle. You choose what you do with those cards. You choose what you do with the good cards and the bad cards. If you want to bluff, if you want to, if you're a good player, if you're a bad player, that's where you have complete control. My goal, my mission is to help you play those cards to the best of your ability, one at a time. You don't play them all at once, right? One at a time. And so I'm going to see if I can get Evram muted. And I'm going to mute Grace. So now I'm going to get, who do I have here? Yukti. I'm not sure. I'm saying that right, Yukti. Hi, Yukti, are you there?
Hi, Holly. My name's Yukti, by the way, not
Yukti. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm such a Canadian. I can't pronounce. Why would it be Yukti? Yukti makes much more sense. So, okay. What is your question?
I feel like I'm in a period of transition. Well, I've been in a period of transition for close to 3 years, but each period has its sub-periods. And my question was, what is the next theme or the next phase of my life bringing? I feel like I'm on the cusp of something. And mostly, I think it's in the space of my work life, so to speak.
Yeah.
That the question's really related to that.
Okay.
So.
Okay, perfect. So you're going through you're past the cusp. You're actually at the finish line as well. One of the cycles started for you in March of 2017, and it ends in November. And I'll get back to what that means in a second. And the next cycle started overlapped. Okay, so they started to move in tandem in February of 2018. So now you're dealing with 2 heavy-duty karmic cycles. And that one ends in the end of this year. So they started about a year apart from each other, but they're ending only a month apart from each other. And so you're at the finish line. You've only got 6 months left. And this is about you taking charge and you taking control and you emotionally being satisfied and helping women in general. Okay, but it has to be a very radical, different approach. And that's something that you came up with at the end of May, just a few weeks ago. And this is going to take about a year for you to create this radical approach on how you're going to teach this, express this in your career, through your career. And it's extremely confusing time. I can completely understand that because things are happening. The ideas are coming to you very quickly. You are a philosopher, you are an innovative person, and you have a unique idea and very unique concepts. However, you come into this lifetime as a Capricorn, and you come into this lifetime as a Capricorn from your past life, which means you're very much into structure. You're very much into respect and wanting to have respect from people. And in the past life, you didn't share this unique, different concept, way of thinking. And in this lifetime right now, as we're speaking, it's asking you to do that. So it's going to provoke opposition from other people. And it's going to affect your professional life in particularly, because when you express your opinion strongly in any area, it seems like you're defending yourself and you're defending yourself to other people. And it makes you question, am I supposed to be doing this? Why am I getting such resistance? Does that make sense?
Yeah, complete sense. Like it's right on. I'm very logical, being a Capricorn, and I've been very logical, but nowadays I'm not as logical, so to speak. But my logic transcends the boundaries of what logic is as understood by everybody else.
Right.
So
Right.
that's, I think it's just an expansion of how I see things also right now that I'm going through. So, and yes, my motivation is to help other women like me.
In groups.
Okay.
You're a great coach. Don't get me wrong. You're an amazing problem solver. But this is asking you to work in groups, whether you do it on the internet or you just start a group on Facebook and start gathering people that think outside of that box. And this is very cultural because you've got your Mars in Sagittarius. And this means that you want to help the paradigm, the cultural myths, and bring them into the future. You're very future orientated. You got a lot of Aquarius in your chart. And what's being attacked right now, what's being brought to surface is that that futuristic side of you, right? So you're very scientific as well. And that, I don't know if you got to see the trailer that I had brought up at the beginning with Nassim Harassine. I can never say his name properly, but he is someone that you would really resonate with. And I'll put that in the chat box as well. And if you look up his work, because he's a physicist, but he thinks way outside the box, and he talks like us. So you're not like completely confused when you're listening to him, but he bridges spirituality. He bridges the meaning of life, why we're here as a collective, and how it shouldn't be cut up into culture. You know, like nothing in the universe takes a planet and cuts it up into different categories called countries. Nothing in the universe does that, but we do that as human beings. And then they become cultural beliefs and cultural paradigms and the way it's always been done. Right. So that is something that you're going to be working with. And there's some fear around that, but
Yes.
That's going to be completely overthrown by the end of this year. You have to do it. This is your mission. You're going through a double soul rebirth. And that's why it feels like you're depressed. And if you look at the Latin word for depressed, it means pressed down. So you're feeling pressed down by the paradigm of the belief system, but what's in the culture. But what's going to happen is that people will start to come out of the woodworks. There's people around you just waiting for someone to lead this. You don't have to be the leader. You're the educator. You're the motivator. You're the mentor. You're the gatherer. There are other people around you whom you're going to meet in March. You should have met someone at the beginning of the March, and the next one is the beginning of November. So I do see it as being a very strong male energy. And it may even be that you're just invited to some sort of event and start gathering people of like minds like yourself. www.meetup.com is a great place to go to. You can create your own group and they just come to you. You know, you don't have to go out there and reach them. And it doesn't have to be in your circle. Go ahead.
You said beginning of March. I actually started a women's group around that time. These are people I knew and people who knew other people like that, to actually start having these conversations. The one thing I struggled with is actually expressing some of this stuff because it's just so outside the box for most people.
So what you can do is show them where you are learning it from. Show them the videos that you're watching. Show them the teachings of the gurus that you're learning from. Have them read the books, like a book club, the ones that you're reading from. That's creating these ideas. That's helping you reshape your philosophy around this. Because I know some of the stuff is just coming to you inventively while you're sleeping. But some of it is that you'll watch a movie or you'll watch a video on YouTube and it'll spark this knowledge in you. Share that with them. It doesn't have to come from you. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yes. Yeah, I mean, this makes a lot of sense, what you say, being educator, mentor, gatherer. But there's a part of me, maybe my ego, that wants to be the leader also, and I struggle with that. So but I see that very clearly in the role I've been playing lately.
Yeah, you're the energy gatherer and you are the motivator and the mentor. So the teachers can come as guests They can come as a movie. You might show them that trailer that I showed. It's a movie that you can buy for $12.99 on iTunes. I just purchased it, and you can go anywhere on YouTube. Gaia TV. Gaia TV is like $11.99 a month. You can do the first month free, and you can have these, like some of them are only 10 minutes long. So you have these gatherings, you play something that resonates with you, something that you want to share, that you want to resonate with other people. And then you have this group discussion. They're all going to come up with the same thoughts and the same concepts that you did, but they wouldn't have if you didn't bring it to their attention.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does.
But don't expect it all to completely be tied up in a nice bow until the end of this year, and especially April 2020. April 2020, you are learning to be a leader. So don't be, because one of it is Pluto opposing the sun, which means you are struggling with what the one thing with you that's paramount is respect. And if you don't have respect for someone, you don't want to learn one thing. You don't even want to read any of their books. You have to respect them. And therefore, you demand the same amount of respect from yourself, which means you have to earn that respect. You're not going to get respect just because you wrote a bestseller or you got a title with a diploma on the wall, right? You want to earn that respect. But what happens when you can get trapped in that in a lot of people that are self-employed, self-motivated leaders, you are so goal-orientated that you never give yourself credit for when you've reached a certain application, when you've reached a certain height. And you'll get all the diplomas and you get all the certificates and you'll take all the courses and you'll say, I'm still not good enough. I don't demand this respect. I'm not as good as Tony Robbins or Oprah or Dr. Shefali, right? So that's something that you're going to have to accept within yourself, that's a voice that you have in your head that does make you a very high achiever. And it does mean that people can respect your authority because you work hard at gaining that. And when you talk yourself down, when you talk yourself out of that role that you're working so hard to get to, just listen to it like a voice. Go, there I go again, pushing myself a little further. That's what I do. Right?
Okay. Yeah, I definitely do that. That's definitely true. I think the other thing that resonated was what you said, provoking opposition from people. And that scares me some.
Why does that scare you?
I think most importantly, it scares me when it's within the family and the closest circle of friends, because I feel like what I say is not understood. And I think I get defensive.
Yeah. And that's because you're creating a movement, and you're creating a movement that starts with your culture, which starts with your family, and you are going to get resistance. And you've got you're going through a double soul rebirth, which means you're going to be leaving some people behind. There's some people that aren't at the same level. And when I like to use the word layers because I don't believe one is better than the other. We're just in different places. So some of them aren't the ones that you're supposed to be teaching or motivating or mentoring, but some of them want to have someone with a voice. So you're going to get resistance at first from your family members, and you are separating from a lot of them, especially some of the women, and you will see them leave. And then next April, like half of them, I'm not kidding, are going to come back to you.
Okay.
But you just have to do that. If you're afraid of them of kicking you out of the clan, which is basically the group, the tribe, that you don't belong to the tribe anymore. I don't want to be harsh on you, but you are not a part of the tribe anymore.
I mean, there are places where I'm already out of the tribe.
Yeah.
It just is. That's been happening naturally over the past 2 years.
Yeah. And you don't want to be a part of the tribe.
Yeah, I have no desire now to be part of that tribe.
And there's a lot of people that feel just like you do, but they don't have the courage or the education. To step outside of the tribe. And so the ones that they'll gain the courage by watching you, by witnessing what you're going to be doing in the next 6 months. And more importantly, what you're going to be doing they've been watching you for 2 years. You've been doing this for 2 years. So you're at the finish line and you've already seen some people catch up. And part of it that you're learning is to teach them how to step outside of their tribe without losing themselves. Because you're learning how difficult that is and what a challenge it is and how hurtful it can be and how lonely it can be. And that's what you're going to help people to be themselves, to be their own unique person and still go to church and still go to the synagogue and still go to family functions, right? And,
Yes.
but still have your own belief system that I don't have to do everything the way that I've been told by my family that it has to be done. And a lot of strong cultures go through this. The Italians go through this. The Chinese go through this. Some Europeans have that very strong, you got to do what the family does or you're ostracized. You know, Mennonites, that's like the worst. Mennonites, you can't even marry outside of their circle or everybody will ostracize you and stop talking to you. You get shunned. So what you're there to teach them is exactly what you're going through right now.
Okay. So it is possible to be outside any particular box and still respect the boxes.
Yep. Yep. It is, because when we look at, if you start to look at the work of Nassim that I was telling you about, and in quantum physics, atoms and quantum physics especially is constantly, everything is 99.9%, 99.999% space. So if you look at a circle like this, and there's a whole bunch of atoms in there, most of that is space. But the atoms are continuously bouncing around. They're moving, they're moving, they're moving, they're moving. They're here, they're there, they're here, they're there, they're here, they're there. And we're supposed to be the same thing, but we don't. We create these square boxes around ourselves and go, I'm either in the box or I'm out of the box. I can't be in and out. But everything in nature does that. Everything in nature interacts and is entangled with each other. You know, one thing cannot be without the other. So we know that from just the whole idea of what's happening with the bees. You know, we're killing all of these wildflowers because they're weeds and our bees can't live. You know, it affects nature when we take something out. So it's okay. It's natural. It's normal for you to be in and out of the box whenever you want to be in and out of the box.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate that. That helps a lot.
You're welcome, Yakti. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next one, Alicia has a question. How much does my, okay, so I want to go in an order here. And I think, we're going to start with you. And I'm going to go up. I've got your birthday's February 21st. And I'm going to unmute you in a second. And then I'm going to get you to ask your question. So who am I hearing? I need to mute Oz. And where's my Did you leave I think you left. Okay, so let me see if I can find your question and I'll answer that so you can look at it later. And then I am born, yeah. Me too, yeah. And I'm sorry, guys, hang in there. Let me just see if I can find. I'm wondering if I have a future with my partner. It's the 22nd, but there's no year. Okay, I can't do that without the year. And I don't know who is not, oh, there we go. Mute. Oz, I'm gonna go to you next. So what I'm gonna do is just take a look if you're in an area right now that you are entering into a relationship or having difficulties in that relationship. So there's definitely a relationship that's on trial, and this is going to be until January 2020, and it began in April. And there's a lot of confusion around that, and part of that has to be with children. Some of it has to do with a mother or a mother-in-law, and it also has to do with your own personal needs being thwarted. It's creating some aggressiveness within you, and there's some anger that's happening, and you're detached yourself and you distanced yourself, and this is going to continue until November 2019. So this is quite a difficult period in your domestic life. On a psychological level, you feel lonely, you feel isolated from others, but it's also creating a feeling of depression, or that you're undeserving. But it's not that at all. You have very strong adrenal glands, and so in your personal relationships, especially with women, there's this conflict that everything's at war, that you have to fight for everything, fight to the death, or that you have to stick up for somebody or stick up for yourself, right? And so this conflict, it truly is a real conflict, is not properly balanced right now. So the problem is that you don't feel like there's friends involved in this too. So the problem is that you're not quite getting along with the friends that he's with. I'm not sure how long you guys have been together. So there is the possibility for you guys to stay together, but you have to make sure that your own personal needs are being met. You like to be active, you like to be aggressive, you like to do things on the turn of a dime, you like a challenge, you don't like someone who's meek or quiet or keeps to themselves. You like somebody who can have the guts to speak their mind. And so that conflict, that domestic fighting, is because you want him to speak up. You want him to speak his mind. So I'm going to leave it at that because I'm not sure what his birth date is. I'm not sure of the time. So we got Julia next, but I'm going to go with Oz. And I'm not sure what your first name is. You don't have to share that, but are you there? Did you want to speak, Oz?
Yes, hi.
Hi, honey. What is your birth date?
30th of January, 1976. Or shall I write it?
Nope, that's okay. 1976. And what is your question?
It's mainly about relationships, love. So what's going on, or will there be something? Because I don't have one right now.
Okay, good. You're going through, and it's interesting that I got all these people having soul rebirths, because we don't all have soul rebirths in a lifetime. I'm not sure if I've even had one. Well, I did when I was younger. So yours started in February, and this continues till the end of next year. So you're starting to face sort of the shadow side. You're starting to look at your outworn structure of how you've attracted men in your life. And a lot of this has in connection in tandem with the relationship that you had with your father. And so you're going to start looking at, I don't want to pick guys the way that I used to pick guys according to the relationship that I had with my dad. And does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So the more that you work on the paradigm and the relationship that you had with your father, the more that you will be able to choose a better partner for yourself. And one of the things is that you have to have a partner who's intelligent, not just smart and witty and funny, because you really love humor. You're a funny person yourself, but you're very smart and intelligent, and you need to have someone who can keep up with you in talking about philosophy and learning and being inquisitive and scientific, and likes to travel and likes to do things different, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You need someone like that. You might have been taught by your father that you should have more stability and someone who can make a good living and whatnot, but you really want someone who's quirky and different, but stable at the same time. So I do see a relationship for you. I don't see it long term until the end of next year. So that's a year and a half from now. But that doesn't mean that you don't meet him sooner than that. So the two opportunities that you have to meet him is between September and November, which is this fall, to meet this partner. And the other one is, are you going on a trip at the end of this month?
In July, I'm going to Italy.
Beginning of July?
Well, It's like 22nd.
Oh, so it's the end of July. Well, this is a cycle that started in June and continues to May 2021, which is called the Uranus opposition. So yeah, it can happen anytime in between there. But June is the first hit, which it's the end of June, so it's most of July is the first hit. And almost all of us go through this in our late 30s and early 40s, and it marks a period of transition in our lives. And some people call it the midlife crisis, but I don't call it that anymore. But it just means that you want things to change. You don't want things to be the same. And so in the past, you've been looking for relationships that were according to what your circle told you you should be with. You've always liked your independence. You actually didn't care about being in a long-term relationship up until recently. You liked your freedom. You love your freedom. So yeah, I see you being, those are the chances that you'll be in a relationship and you'll have that freedom, that type of guy that you can have freedom of expression. You can speak your mind, speak your truth. You don't have to stick to the paradigm of what his culture or your culture believes in. And that will be by the end of next year, will be solid, long-term relationship that has an enormous amount of freedom and fun.
Okay, great.
Sounds like a plan?
Yeah, thanks.
Welcome, hon. So then we do have Julia here, and then we're going to end with Julia, I believe. Oh no, we got iPhone too. We'll go with iPhone and then we'll end that, which I think was Carrie. Carrie, you've been hanging in for a while. So, Julia, are you there? No answer from Julia. So let me see if everything on the commitment, love, relationship. Julia?
Yes, I'm here.
Well, there you are, hon. Okay,
Hi.
so we've got, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. Getting over a bad cold.
My headset with my mic wasn't working, so I had to quick switch out. I'm glad I had a backup. So,
quick on the draw.
yes.
November 16th. What was your question? You said you wanted employment opportunities. You've been out of the workplace for a long time and you're starting all over again.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's scary, but it's awesome.
Yes. Well, 57 starting over is a little scary, yeah.
So it looks like you started this search around February, but it also got thwarted very quickly. So you applied for places and it didn't work out? Is that what happened?
I haven't started applying yet. It's just I get into my head and let the fear sort of run roughshod over me, and then I just become immobile. But yeah, it's just my own fears that are sort of jumping out there and stopping my track.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to tell you what you're really good at, and I'll tell you, I know that you're labeling it as a fear. I'm going to change that label for you, and I'm going to label it as it's very difficult for you to make choices and make decisions. So when we have a difficulty making choices and decisions, it's because we're afraid. So there is that fear in there. We're afraid that we're going to make the wrong choice. And does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Right. So what happens is you get frozen. You get frozen in that in-between, in that limbo where it's this decision's here and that decision's there. And you're just sitting on the fence and you're not going either way.
Exactly. Yes.
So the idea, because you've started this, I do see you working in October, in the fall. And a lot of this struggle that you're having with making a choice, that fear is going to end for you at the end of November. So you're going to start seeing the wood for the trees, right? But right now you're too hyper focused on, if I make this decision, because the thing is that you're very loyal. You're very dedicated once you make a choice. You're very hard on yourself too. And you like your freedom. That's where the other fear comes from. What if this job doesn't give me the freedom? What if I'm stuck here forever? So the idea is that you don't have to stick with a job just because you got hired, right? If you don't like it, you quit, you do something else. You don't like it, you quit, you do something else. You need to give yourself the freedom to roam until you find that place. And some of this fear comes from something that happened about 3 years ago or 4 years ago in the job place or around job and career. So that you have to let go. And what you are very good at is negotiating. You're very good at keeping the peace. You're very good at keeping people happy. You're good at human relations, but you do need a job where you can move around and that you have a little bit of a leadership capability. So what types of jobs are you looking for?
Well, in the past, I've done like clerical office support, but it's like I'd like to kind of be open to new things, just to try new stuff. I figure since I'm starting over anyway, why not just sort of, be the smorgasbord, try this, try that, just till I sort
Exactly.
of, you know.
So what I call this is process of elimination. And until you get off the fence and start, you're not going to know what you're supposed to do. You'll figure that out by the end of the year. My prescription for you would be that in the next 6 months, you just try as many different jobs as possible. Make sure that you got your freedom, which means you're able to move around. You're not stuck at a desk job. Make sure that even like waitressing, or bartending, like that gives you the people pleasing skills that you have. You're a great listener. You're very witty. You like to have conversation, and yet you're kind of on your own. You kind of are your own boss. You're doing your own thing. You're not sitting at a desk job. You're constantly moving. It could be waitressing. It could be working in an office that allows you that constant moving, where there's constant change in that, such as an office like around real estate and stuff like that, where there's always changes. So the first thing is just for you to jump off of one side of the fence and just try something. And if you don't like it, you quit. And then you try something else, and then you try something else. That's the only way you're going to discover what you like. And you'll discover that by the end of this year. Can you do that?
Yes. You're so right. That's one of the things that drives me nuts, that I'm so afraid of making the wrong choice that I don't make any choice. And then it's like, then I beat myself up for not making a choice. So it's like,
Well, we all do that, right? We all can we have a choice of what choice we make. So, and we don't know until we make the choice. And because we're not all psychic and we don't really know. I was watching a TV show. It's called The Good Place. And this, they have powers because they're up in heaven and stuff like this. So this guy had to break up with his girlfriend for a very good reason. That's his character. He can't make choices. And he's just always like struggling with the making choices. So, and it's just hilarious. Like, he just racks his brain over making choices. He's a very intelligent person. In fact, he takes physics and philosophy. That's his, he's a professor in that. So this person had the magic ability to allow him to relive the same story over and over and over again until he made the choice that he wanted. So he was able to break up with his girlfriend like 10 times in 10 different ways without her really knowing it was happening in real life. But it was like very real, it was like a simulated reality. And so he could try it all these different ways. And then he finally made the right choice, right, on how to do it. Yours isn't that serious. Like, if you make a choice and you start working for a friend and you tell them right off the bat, I'm just trying this out to see if this is something I like. And you tell them right off the bat that this is what you're going to do. Then you don't like it. Then you try something else. Right. So what is the first job that you're thinking of doing?
Well, I was just looking, the local hospital has a couple clerical positions open, and it's close to me because I live in an area has a lot of high tourist area, Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like every place you drive down here is just insane traffic. So I was hoping to get somewhere closer to home just to avoid, sitting in the car for an hour trying to get to work. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's some sort of freedom too. So does the job allow for a lot of movement, a lot of changes?
I don't know. It's like a registrar, the person who checks you in when you go in for a procedure.
Okay,
yeah. Check into the hospital, something like that.
You're dealing with people every day and talking to people, helping them feel better, interacting, right?
Yep.
You're not just sitting at a desk where somebody just plops down paper in front of you and you're just by yourself doing it.
Yeah.
Can't do that. Okay, perfect. Go for it. Just do it.
Awesome. Okay.
Well, just do it. I'm going to bug you. I'm going to find you and I'm going to see if you've done it.
Okay. Well, I'm on your mailing list.
I
So.
know. And then I'm gonna say, anybody know Julia on my mailing?
You're bad.
Okay, hon. There you go.
Thank you so much.
Do that. Do that. It's a full moon, so do it soon.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so I'm gonna take iPhone and then we're done. Is this Carrie?
Yes, there is.
Hi, Carrie.
Hi.
Are you the artist that's in Ontario?
Well, yeah,
Okay.
I guess.
I know who you are. You're amazing. Like, honestly, you need to do something with that. She is amazing. You guys need to find her face. Do you have a website?
No, I'm not very good at that stuff.
Connect with
I
me
keep
and I'll
getting
do it
asked.
for you. Or you can go on, what is it, Squarespace, or just do it on your Facebook. You've got so much expression in your work. Okay, what's your birthday?
February 4th, 1982.
And what's your question?
I didn't really have it specific. I was just kind of looking for some guidance, I guess maybe with my art, or I feel like it sometimes I kind of get like blocked.
Yeah. What time are you born?
Maybe from others. 5:56.
In the afternoon?
Yeah, late.
February 4th, 82. She's a youngin', huh? Just a youngin'.
Don't feel that way.
We didn't feel that way then either. Okay, so you got an opportunity in January. And if you didn't take that, it allowed you for some growth, and you were quite optimistic about showing your work. But you'll have that opportunity again in September and October. So I want you to look out for that. You are blocked right now till the end of this year. And some of the setbacks are in your personal life. So I'm not sure if that your personal domestic life is saying you need to have a job that just brings home some money because we need some extra money to pay some bills, and the art isn't doing it. And there is, does that make sense?
Yeah. Money is always an issue.
Yeah. And so this is you've had some run-ins with others too. And there's been some bitterness, some antagonism. And this is a male energy that I'm seeing. And there's a lot of suppressed anger going on with you around that. And that has to do with finances as well. So there's a part of you that's like, you know what, if I just didn't have this financial issue because of you, dude, I'd be able to express my own unique self, who I am with my art. And that will be over with, and you do have to address it. You don't like confrontation. You have a tendency to detach yourself, and no, you don't like run-ins with other people. But this one, you do have to face them, take control over it, and then push it out of the way so that you can go about doing the art. You work really good with groups, and you do have to be in a position of self-employment. However, there is the idea, you're right on the cusp. Wow. Okay, just give me a second, Gemini. You could be a teacher as well with art, with workshops. So, but your art is so unique and it's so different, and you have a lot of emotion in your arts. Some of that stuff I've seen that you've done should have went viral. And you're all over the place. So with your art, you're doing flowers, and the next minute you're doing, a picture of somebody in Afghanistan that was in the war and suffering with a wound on their leg. Like you're all over. So
I am.
Right. So the idea is focus, and that's what you're doing between now and December. Is what are you going to focus on? One of the things is that you want to focus on what the masses can emotionally relate to, and that it tells a story and it pulls at the heartstrings of others. And a flower doesn't quite do that.
Yeah.
So, no disrespect.
No, I know what I want to do. I don't know. I feel sometimes people just, I can't get there. I don't know how.
Okay, what do you want to do?
I would love to do like the little girl that I had done, the Yemeni girl, I want to do more artwork like her. And it has to be specifics. It has to speak to me, and then I can relate to, I don't know, I can do it.
Right.
But I would like to show it, not sell it. If that makes sense. Like she'll never be for sale, but I would like
Right.
to do like an entire gallery of
Okay.
paintings like her.
Okay, because I see this happening for you by the end of this year, and I've got but the universe is giving me a whole bunch of messages right now. So one of them is I'm going to connect you with with a cousin of mine who is in the Army, in the military of some sort, and but he's an amazing photographer, and he captures some of the stuff that you like, and so I'm going to connect you with him. The other one is because you could draw out his art. And the guy is a saint and a half. Never wants to make any money off of anything. The other one is the other thing that stands out for me, first of all, is prints. So there's cards and stuff, but I know what you mean, a gallery of awareness. So I'm going to find, I can't remember her name. She's a Japanese woman who was a surfer. She's in her 60s now, but she was in surfing, and then she was in some other things. But she got really big into the whales and how much we're depleting the sea life and how many whales are dying. And she started doing origami, and she started doing gallery presentations, and she'd make all these origami whales, and she hung as many origami whales in a room that was that died in the year because of poaching and the way that we, take things from the sea. And then and she is all over the world with this gallery, and people.
Yeah, I think
You've seen
I've
her?
heard about it.
Right? Yeah, she was on TED Talk too. And people would walk into this room and be overwhelmed with, these are I'm walking through thousands of dead whales, because that's what they're representing.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of message I think that you want to, and the one thing art can do that pictures can't do is that you can draw in, I don't know how to, but the expression that you can put in art that can't be captured with a camera.
Thank you. Sometimes I feel like I get down on myself about it. I can't do it. I didn't have the experience of going to university and expanding on it. So I just sometimes, that's a lot of a downfall for me. Okay,
so when I had talked about the person before that, where I had said that she has to have so many diplomas, so many degrees, so much education, it's never enough, it's never enough, it's never enough. That's you too. And then you have a hard time making decisions and making choices as well. You're a very multi-talented person, and that people who are multi-talented are very spread out, and it's very hard for you to focus on here. In fact, you might even have 2 or 3 pieces of art going on at the same time. It's hard for you to focus.
Yeah. I do.
One, right? So
yes.
Right. So work on those ones that I'm going to make that connection with you, with him. Find those, like that one image that went viral, and it's been viral forever, with that little girl running naked in Vietnam and the bombing in the background.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's a very powerful one. Things like that's what you need to send messages that pulls at people's heartstrings, educates them visually, and makes them take responsibility for the imbalance in this world. That's you. That's you right there. If you can take this recording and just capture what I just said there, those 3 sentences is you. That's what you need to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, that's what I would like to do.
You have to. So it's just, and it'll go viral by the end of this year. It'll go viral as soon as but it's a play. You need to find a home for that. So if you can go, Instagram is a great place for that, but Instagram doesn't allow you to have one place where people could see everything, right? And you need to tell your story with it. So right beside your work of art, tell your story. How did this capture you? Why did you choose this? What emotions did you feel during painting this, and what was the outcome? Because when you finish a painting, it's not the journey that you go through internally is not what you thought that you would experience when you first chose to paint that person.
Yes.
Right. So, and it could be as small as somebody's child, somebody who couldn't conceive, and a picture of their first child after they've lost 10 babies. It could be something as simple as that. And you capture the emotions of what they are feeling that's not compared to any other person who had a child naturally and easily, right? Not saying one's more important than the other, but you can capture that compassion and that emotion. And it could be as personal and small and local as that to something global, right? Something very
Okay.
global. So
Thanks.
smart, what is it? Squarespace. I think it's something easy for people to do. Wix is another computer place that's very easy to do, or just Facebook. Open up your own group, your own private group. Groups are better because pages, people just see randomly whenever. But if I belong to your group and I keep wanting to see your work of art and I want to read your stories, everyone in the group will see it as soon as you put one up. Everyone.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You start a group, and then I can just go to the photos, and you can have albums. This one is, global. This one's local. This one's personal. This one's family. Like, you can create albums, right, on Facebook. So that's where I would start, and you're going to be very, 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 very successful.
Really? That'd be amazing.
Yeah, but I saw cards. That you would print them out as cards eventually.
Okay.
But I do see the gallery idea too. So how many do you have that you think you could put in a gallery right now?
I have paintings, but I don't have, they're, like you said, all over the place. So I've got, like my Yemeni girl, and then I've got about 4 that I've started that I haven't, finished. And then I do a lot of animals, like the eyes of the animals.
Yeah.
So I've got 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, I guess 11 paintings finished. No, not even. Almost 11.
Okay. The ones that are that heart-wrenching, powerful, that soulful?
I only have 1 finished, and then I've got a half of 1 finished, and then I've got another half of 1 started.
Okay, so give yourself 6 months to finish them, because that's the cycle that I see that you're going through. And I heal that wound around that person that I was talking to. And in November, you're going to get an opportunity. If you can look for a place that you can showcase this, even if it's just in your local church, plan that for November, beginning of December, moving into Christmas, right? Just showcase your work. You don't have to sell it. Just see what the feedback is.
Okay. Yeah. Because I'm not, I don't want to sell my Yemeni girl or anything, but.
No, but they could be made prints. But the Yemeni girl, that one is the one that one is just more telling a story. People need to pay attention. People need to listen. People need to see this girl's image over and over and over again to get it right, and your story around that. So think about what you're going to call your Facebook page. I got soul prints or soul paintings or soul art. I got that kind of thing, but whatever you want to call it.
Oh, I love that.
You like that? Soul art. So yeah. So and create that page and put those pictures up and invite me, or not the page, group.
Okay.
Invite me, and I'll invite everybody else that I know that's in my circle.
Okay, thank you.
I know you don't live too far from me either, so I'll go to your event.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, hon.
Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time for me. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thanks.
Okay, so we're going to end it there. Thank you, everyone. That went much longer than I anticipated, and hopefully anyone else that I missed can come to the next one. Sometimes towns are local artist festivals. She could look into that. Okay, thank you, Julia. So see, you're getting support already, Carrie. So I know you're in a small townish area.
Thank you.
Yeah, so take a look at that as well too. Okay, that's it, everyone. Namaste.